Hi everyone, welcome to Qudwa's podcast powered by the CFA Society Bahrain. This is your host Latifa Swaidah. At Qudwa, we believe in the philosophy of paying it forward, and this is why we are recreating our conversations that we have with people that we look up to. We would like to take this time to thank Ahli United Bank Bahrain in continuously supporting us in our initiatives. Today, we are joined with Amina AlHaddad. Amina is the head of Equal Opportunities Unit in the Legislature and Civil Society Department within the Gender Balance Center at Supreme Council for Women in Bahrain. She is responsible for executing the Equal Opportunities Impact in the National Plan for Advancement of Bahraini Women and implementing of the National Gender Balance Model in both the legislative field and within civil society organizations, as well as executing the Political Participation Program. Amina has over 9 years of experience in the field of women advancement and was in charge of executing and following up on a range of programs aimed at advancing Bahraini women. In the business world, women leaders are still a minority, but Bahrain is showing a great deal of advancement in including women in senior management roles and also even reaching to board-level positions. But just as a brief background for our listeners, would you elaborate on women's participation over the past 5 years?
Yes, I agree. Bahrain is showing great advancements in including women in senior management roles. As a part of the Supreme Council for Women's mandate, we have research and studies that are conducted under our Information and Strategy Center for Women. And as a result of these, we have been able to monitor the status of women in various fields. Women in the financial sector, for example, women in the engineering field, women in media, and this is just to name a few. And so since the establishment of the Supreme Council for Women, we have taken a strategic approach towards women advancement. We have a national plan. It's called the National Plan for the Advancement of Bahraini Women. And it's like our guidebook, the go-to book. And it's done in partnership with all institutions in the Kingdom of Bahrain, be it the private sector, the public sector, civil society, the legislative authority. And through this national plan, we are able to monitor and follow up on gender balance indicators. So these are in all developmental areas. So if we want to know the participation of women in the financial sector, we have certain indicators that give us an idea of how women are doing in this sector. And through these indicators, we're able to identify any gaps, not only identify them, but also put the necessary action plans, the necessary solutions, find out what exactly are the challenges that are facing women in certain fields. And by doing that with our partners, we try to implement ways of reducing the gaps that have been identified. And if I could just give you some statistics on the participation of women in the financial sector, while it's remained almost consistent, there has been an increase over the past 5 years. In 2015, the participation of women in the financial sector was 35%. This was in 2015, and in the first quarter of this year, in 2020, it's jumped up to 37%. So as you can tell, women are participating in the financial sector.
So what are some of the studies that you guys have been conducting?
I'm glad you asked that because we actually conducted a study in 2019. And this study was done in collaboration with the Central Bank of Bahrain, the CBB, and it was a national survey. And as a result of this survey, it was actually on women in the financial sector, specific for women in the financial sector. And as a result of the survey, we noticed that women today are reaching the highest position in the financial sector. Women are becoming chairwomen of banks. I was going to say chairmen, but I'll say chairwomen of banks. And they're also reaching the position of CEOs. There are actually 3.2% of women who are now CEOs. And I think that's a great indicator that women can reach these positions. We hope that these percentages will increase, and we believe that Bahraini women can reach these senior management roles. And alongside that, we also noticed some statistics, if you don't mind me just sharing some with you. In 2019, Bahraini women held 15.6% of the executive director positions, and this is in the financial sector. And 22.7% of women were in the position of directors. And we had women in the managerial positions as well. 33.7% of women were in managerial positions. And assistant managers was 40.9%. So as you can tell from these statistics, women are breaking ceilings, they are reaching senior management roles, and we hope that this will continue to increase. And we are putting the efforts in collaboration with our partners, with the private sector, with the institutions, to ensure that women not only enter the financial sector, but that they are able to have a career development and that they can continue within this sector and reach managerial roles.
I think the women, even especially today, they're more than capable of not just reaching to managerial positions, but also in board level positions. They've got a lot of experience here, a lot of capabilities. But can you elaborate more on women's participation over the past 5 years?
Yes. First of all, I do agree women are reaching the board of directors positions. And when it comes to women's participation over the past 5 years, as I mentioned earlier, it's been almost consistent, but there has been a 2% increase between 2015 to 2020. We also noticed an increase in women's representation in leadership positions. So while 31% of women, there was 31% women representation in 2014, this has increased to 33% in 2019. And not only that, we've also noticed that women are getting professional certifications. So they're lifelong learners. They're eager to learn, and they're also getting these professional certifications in specialized fields. So today you see women entering risk management. You see women in the field of compliance, insurance proficiency. You see them in audit, be it internal, external, sharia. And we also have women, we've noticed women are also entering the financial technology, which is fintech. So as you can tell, there are so many opportunities. It's just a matter of taking advantage of those opportunities and ensuring from a Supreme Council for Women's place that there is the support services needed in order for a woman to be able to balance her work and life, especially in a demanding sector such as the financial sector.
Well, I'm really glad that the Supreme Council for Women actually exists, especially for today. I really believe that I'm seriously lucky that I'm born in this generation. When you look at it from this perspective, there's a lot of significance in those statistics, a lot of it. And we still have a long way to go. What efforts have been made to achieve gender balance in Bahrain when it comes to career development?
Okay, so the Supreme Council for Women has a national model. It's called the National Gender Balance Model. And this model was created before, and it has 5 main aspects. And these aspects aim to ensure that women are able to competitively contribute in national progress. And the main principle of the model is equal opportunities. You know, we want to make sure that a woman has an equal opportunity based on her credentials, based on her experience, and that she's not discriminated against just based on her gender. And so how this is done is, of course, in partnership. It's cross-cutting with all our partners in the public, private sector, the civil societies. And what happens is that the national model is executed by an Equal Opportunities Committee. And how this is done is they are in charge of ensuring that the 5 aspects of the National Gender Balance Model is taken into consideration. So the 5 aspects, the first one is policies. It's really important that when people in management roles have the gender lens, I guess you could say, that they are able to put policies, keeping in mind that women have certain needs. You know, at some point in her life, she might get married, or she might have responsibilities towards her family. So just taking into consideration the needs of women while putting policies in place. For example, thinking of support services, flexible working time, remote working. So that's on the level of policies. And the same goes for budgets, ensuring that budgets are gender-sensitive budgeting. So what we mean by that is that whenever a project is put in place, the budget, it's done in a way that the institution can know how many women, how much is being put for women, and how much is being put for men. So the budget is gender sensitive. It gives you an indicator as to how much of the projects women are benefiting from and men are benefiting from. And then we have the third aspect, which is knowledge management, which is really important. It's the idea of shedding light on best practices. Certain institutions have done things and been leaders in doing certain things, such as working from home. They've implemented that for their employees even before the pandemic, before COVID hit. Some institutions were already doing this in Bahrain, and so it's really good to be able to share the experiences of these institutions. It might give other institutions that push, the encouragement for them to go ahead and implement such a thing as well. And we've done focus groups, we've highlighted the best practices through social media, and this isn't just something that the Supreme Council for Women works on their own. It's in collaboration with the institutions. So once the institutions have their equal opportunity committee, they're the ones in charge of ensuring that there is that lens within their community, within their institution, to ensure, okay, there is gender balance, there is a mainstreaming of women's needs. And the fifth aspect is impact assessment. It's vital that there is some sort of impact assessment, ensuring that projects that have been put in place are making an impact when it comes to women, that the indicators that we've been put in place, how are they doing? Are there any gaps that we need to take into consideration now? And that way you can further tailor whatever projects you've put in place to make sure that they are actually in line with how women are doing and participating in certain fields. So as I mentioned before, we have what we call an Equal Opportunities Committee, and we have 44 of them in the public sector, and we have 19 in the private sector. And I'd just like to mention that in the private sector, it's completely voluntary. So you see institutions in the Kingdom of Bahrain from the private sector, they're interested in this idea of mainstreaming women's needs. They're interested in gender balance. They believe in the importance of it. They believe that there is a positive impact coming back to their institution by having women with them in the private sector. And we also have 10 equal opportunity committees in the civil society organizations. So as you can tell, we've got them all over.
Everywhere, exactly.
Yes.
I want to rewind a bit. I've got two questions here that's crossed my mind. You've mentioned earlier that you've got a national model for gender balance, I mean. So is that like a guide for policymakers? Is it like...
Yes, I think that's the best way to describe it. The national model is a guide for policy and general strategies makers. So people who are putting down the policies and the strategies, they need to be looking from the top and seeing how women's needs need to be mainstreamed, whether it's in the services that are provided by the institution, whether it's in the budgeting. It's taking an overall look at what the needs are and ensuring that there's equal opportunities. When a woman is being hired, she has just as an equal of an opportunity as a man, in order for her to reach higher level positions, promotions, making sure there's non-discrimination in the workplace. Those are all factors that go into it.
Okay. And you've mentioned earlier that you've got 19 committees who are volunteer in the private sector. What is this committee's mandate exactly?
Okay, so the Equal Opportunities Committee mandate in the private sector, it's basically executing the national model for gender balance through the 5 aspects that I mentioned earlier. And so what that means is that they ensure there is gender balance being taken into account when setting the strategic objectives. So once they put their objectives of the institutions, they have that gender balance lens on. And then ensuring gender-sensitive budgeting within their institutions. So they make sure that whenever projects are done, whenever they're implementing certain projects, it's taking on a gender-sensitive budgeting. And then there's, of course, reviewing internal regulations. It's important that institutions on a regular basis are able to review their internal regulations, see if there's anything they can do to help mainstream a woman's needs or try certain support services that could benefit a woman employee. And then, of course, we have supporting equal opportunities between men and women in senior positions, in boards of directors, ensuring non-discrimination, Once again, they work towards providing support services for women. They might find out what the challenges are in that certain sector. They are basically our eye into the sector. So they can tell us from their experience, from the people surrounding them, from their environment, what the challenges are and what the solutions that they can put in place. And then we can work in partnership to help realize those opportunities, to help overcome the challenges that may face women, and to help ensure work-life balance. I think it's very important that there is a work-life balance, because that's one of the main challenges that face women when they enter the financial sector.
True. I think it's not just women who face this balance as well.
I think so. It's definitely for both partners, but maybe at certain period in a woman's life, she may feel like the pressure is on her, and their children. And I think that's changing though as well. I think the fathers are taking on that responsibility and feeling like, okay, we have a career, she has a career, we need to work on this together. And I think that's very important as well.
True. I really respect what you do, to be honest. I didn't really realize the amount of work that you guys do back in the Supreme Council. Being that the fact that I work in the private sector, I think this question really relates to me here, but I'd really like to know what are some of the best practices that are currently being implemented in that sector.
Okay, so I'll give you some of the best practices that we've been able to identify in the private sector. We were just talking about, that both men and women need that work-life balance. And so we've seen that in the private sector, they're giving longer paternity leave. So up to 10 days of paid leave for the fathers, which is great, once they're starting a new page in their life. It's just good to have that sort of support available. And institutions are also implementing flexible working arrangements, whether it's working from home or flexible hours. Sometimes you just need those extra 2 hours in the morning because you weren't able to sleep all night, and then you'll make up for it in the afternoon. You have no problem. So I think institutions are starting to show that, okay, we can give them those flexible hours, and it's actually coming back positively. They're showing more dedication. They're able to work. They're able to balance their lives, their family responsibilities, as well as focus on their careers. So it's not one or the other, they're being given a chance to work on both. And institutions are also providing childcare leave. So if they need to escort their sick children, they're providing that support service that they can take those days off for their children. And we've also noticed that institutions are providing social insurance costs for female employees. In the event that she would like to extend her maternity leave, she wants to go on unpaid leave. She feels like she still needs to be home with her child. So the institutions are providing the social insurance costs should she decide to extend her leave. And then we have more and more institutions providing health insurance packages that cover pregnancy and childbirth, which, is really important, just so that she has that additional support. And another important aspect is career development programs. It's important that there are career development programs available to their employees, initiatives that can encourage employees, to pursue professional certifications. They can give them awareness programs about certifications that could help them in their careers. And not just awareness programs allowing them to go through and get these certifications or training programs, just anything that will help them climb that ladder and make it clear how they can develop their careers. And in addition to that, support services, like I said, achieving family and professional balance is extremely important.
Yeah. I'm glad you touched upon the career development part, because we as women, we face a lot of challenges when it comes to progressing in our career as opposed to our male counterpart. Can you shed light into some of those challenges that women usually face, and how can they work through them?
Well, I can tell you sustainability is one of the main challenges that women face in the private sector. Not just entering, they're able to enter the field, but sustaining their career development and employee retention is one of the main challenges. But we believe that this issue can be significantly addressed through increasing programs, through more initiatives and support services within private sector institutions, like the ones that I mentioned, the best practices. More institutions need to be implementing such best practices. developing even different services. We're in a time where you can work from home, 3 times a week, for example. That may help to reduce the responsibilities on a woman and the challenges that she faces in the field. There are also other initiatives that they could take upon themselves, institutions such as workplace daycares, flexi and remote working arrangements. I honestly believe that such initiatives won't only improve the retention of the female workforce, but it'll also allow women to focus on their career objectives. So they'll have the chance to be like, okay, I had the time and that I needed for my family. I have that family stability, and I can also strive within my career. I have the time to focus on my career as well. And so there can be more of professional development because she has the time to take the courses. She has the time to do what's demanded of her in her job. So this should hopefully lead to more women attaining leadership positions, because she's able to sustain that track, continue going up it, and then hopefully reach leadership positions.
I really like the idea of having daycare service. It actually crossed my mind a few years ago when I first started working. I was like, how come we don't have that in Bahrain?
I think it is important, just the idea of your child being down and you don't need to really worry. You can go pop in and check on them and then go back to your work. And that way you don't feel like, oh, it's a certain time, I need to quickly pack up and go to my children, because they're down.
But what are other support services that could help women overcome this challenge?
I think flexible working arrangements is something that is very important, and it's something now we've noticed it's achievable. A lot of institutions have taken upon them now with the current pandemic to go towards flexible working arrangements, working from home. All these initiatives, they help a woman better balance her work and life. Or for example, there could be certain days in the week where she could work from home, certain days where she can be working from the office. So all these factors, they definitely help a woman with her career development. Even issues such as maternity leave, enough maternity leave, Some women feel like, oh, I don't have enough time, so at this stage in their life, they decide to just stay at home with their children. So if there is a provision of enough maternity leave or paternity leave, so one of the parents, one can stay for the amount of time that she or he has, and then the other parent can take over. Those are types of support services I feel that can help a woman continue in her field and to continue her career.
There's a question I want to ask you about that. Speaking about flexible hours and working from home, do you think that would deplete the women's work performance in that aspect?
Actually, the complete opposite. We had a focus group done on working from home and flexible working arrangements with the private sector. And like I said, some institutions had taken it upon them to start this even before March. And they realized that working from home actually encouraged the woman, to give back more. She's available longer hours. She's able to give back to work, not just quality work of caliber. She's able to provide for her work and her family. So there is that balance, a sense of I want to give back because I'm being given this ability to balance my work and life. So it's a sense of appreciation as well, I would say. So no, I think quite the contrary. It's a mechanism that should be widespread, in my opinion, and hopefully it's something that will continue even after this pandemic is over.
So with these advances that we are making, how can women today reach executive positions?
I think lifelong learning is very important, and it's available today through various online platforms. And this, creates an opportunity for more flexible learning. It's more accessible, so she can be at home. For example, if she has children, she can be at home with her children while also attending an online course, for example. So lifelong learning and always seeking to advance one's skills, one's capacity building. I think all those are very important for women to be able to reach executive positions. And along with the importance of lifelong learning, and enhancing one's skills, of course, it's important that institutions play a role as well. Institutions need to be able to provide opportunities for career development. You know, they work hand in hand. The employee needs to be able to, or want to, have that, want to always continue to learn, to strive to get, for example, professional certifications. And it needs to go hand in hand with an institution's career development program, making sure that, okay, they're getting these professional certifications. This will help them climb a career ladder. This will help them develop their career, and it can help them reach positions. And I think this can be done through initiatives such as networking programs. We've realized throughout the years that a lot of women feel like they need more networking programs. So networking programs for the employees in general. And promoting mentoring and coaching. Mentoring and coaching is really important, such as this initiative. This is such a great initiative because, girls who are just about to graduate and choose their fields, they need to know how the field is going to be, how once they actually go to work, what they'll be getting themselves into. So it's good to have role models show them that, okay, it might be difficult, it might be a bit challenging, but there are support services there. You can reach these positions. We have the statistics that say women are actually reaching these positions, and that hopefully they will be breaking barriers and ceilings as well themselves. So promoting mentoring and coaching, I think that is extremely important. And then last but not least is providing support services, once again, flexible working arrangements, career development, just things that ensure that women's needs are mainstreamed and taken into consideration.
I have one last question for you, and this really resonates with me, being someone who started early in her career and being as a woman in her 20s. But what advice do you have for someone who's just started out in their career, for not just women, but anyone?
The beginning, take advantage of any training programs, any networking programs. Go out there, get to know people, get to know their experiences. It's important that we want to learn, that we continuously learn. I think Bahraini women have already shown that they're eager learners. And always you'll fall maybe several times, always get back up. You will get back up and you'll be able to overcome those challenges. Take advantage of role models, mentors that you meet in these networking programs. They may be in different fields, but they may have experienced certain things that you'll be experiencing as well. So it's a chance, to get to know to get the wisdom from the people who have been there before you. And I'd say just continue on through, you'll make it.
Yeah, I think it's easier for us today to network and meet our role models, especially now that we've got social media access as well.
It's true, yes. The opportunities are much more than they were before. So I think there will be an increase in women in the financial sector, and we hope to see more women like you in the private sector succeeding.
Well, thank you so much, Amina, for not just giving us your time for this episode, but also for all the contribution that you've made in advancing in women, and not just in the private sector, but also in the public sector. I'm a huge fan of what you do, and I really respect what you do here. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for such a great initiative.
If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on our updates. See you soon.